Part 60. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 592. Battle of the Water. Yekong had nothing to be angry with that nun, as long as she stopped talking. He pulled Yu Minghui aside and asked, "What's going on in Kangnan? In fact, I just looked at Kangbei. Who knows, I won't be able to return." Yu Minghui laughed, "I'm one step behind, and I haven't even caught up with the wars, but I'm quite clear about what's behind." When Yu Minghui talked about the development of the situation outside, Yekong couldn't help feeling, "Damn, isn't it good? Why beat you to death?" However, after all, if this is not the case, the parties will not be able to reach a compromise. As for the dead cannon fodder, they should be unlucky. After Yu Minghui said, he smiled again, "Your kid can't be so good at letting others guard the mountain for you, but you went to Kangbei to make a fortune for the beauty, and all factions scolded you to death." Yekong smiled bitterly, "Where I want to come, this is an accident, forget it, scold and scold, I have never been afraid of scolding." Yu Minghui also said, "Now you have a nickname outside, called Heartless, Li Haizhen." His ancestors, who the is so wicked. Yekong was about to vomit blood. Lao Tzu was almost 9 dead in Kangbei, and he almost couldn't go back anymore. Others thought that he had made a fortune, and he had such a nickname. The two talked a few words. Yu Minghui was going to take the same door to go forward, but was blocked by Yekong. "Brother Minghui, I have to consider this matter from a long-term perspective. According to my month in Kangbei, I found that this place is really not that simple. Not only are there immortals, but the demons outside the territory have not left, and they also account for most of Kangbei in these regions. These demons are very powerful. Even if the immortals dare not easily provoke them, if we encounter them, there is only a dead end." Yekong persuaded Yu Minghui and decided to go back and inform the Yuan infants before making a decision. So Yekong merged with the Acacia ancestors, etc., and went back together. Yekong returned in a timely manner, and today happens to be the first day when the factions entered Kangbei, and they encountered many disciples one after another along the way. When they heard Yekong's words, they all went back. After all, no one wants to die in this unfamiliar ghost place. Then he met Yun Fuzong's treasure hunt team. Leading the team was the old man Lin Tianwu, Huang Zixuan, Cao Junfan, Zhang Wulin, Lan Lanming, Ye Xian, and others were among them, a total of 10. Basically every home visit was 10 places, and each family was 5 places. Everyone was very happy to see Yekong alive, especially Huang Zixuan, happily like a little yellow warbler. The biggest headache for Yekong was that Cao Muse told Huang Zixuan that if he met Li Hizi, he would tell him a word. "Be sure to come back alive and settle accounts with you when you return." Yekong really has a headache. It seems that she has already kissed her. "Hey, that's my wife's master. It's really awkward. What did you say when you met?" But Yekong didn't regret it. The kind of confusion of Cao Muse's ancestor that day, pinching that little bit red, her intoxicating shudder was a eclipse. Then met the team of Ling Yaoshan. Lian Ruolan led the team. Lian Ruolan's incredible trust in Yekong also went back. Almost all the teams were found, but the team that did not meet the mixed UN zone, which made Yekong a little strange. Soon after arriving at the formation where the portal was located, Yekong encountered the team of UN zone. When he saw the consort, Yekong was furious. Every other home came with 10 people, but there were only 5 places in the mixed UN zone, and they were asked to start last. The reason is that one of your mixed UN zones has already advanced, and for the sake of fairness, let you start later. For this unreasonable request, the 4 UN infants of the mixed UN zone even agreed. There is no way to lose money. There is also the dead Yin zone who is still pushing the mixed UN zone to deal with it. Dead to their ancestors. When I go back and ask, who did this bad idea? Although Yekong wanted to go back, the disciples of each faction were also a little scared, but when they returned to the defensive formation, they encountered the same problem: the portal disappeared. No, it disappeared again. Why is it so bad? Yekong found himself really tragedy. After waiting for 2 months in Kangbei, the portal finally opened, but he took a step slower and failed to catch up. The disciples of all factions did not notice that the door would disappear before, and now they are crying without tears. They all thought that their head Yuan said before they set off, 3 months, don't want to come back in less than 3 months. The disciples of the Lingxi mine can get, the disciples who find the rare natural treasures can get, the disciples who find the Yuan babies who practice Yahuan can get. In short, the reward method has been said a lot, but it did not say how to contact Kangnan. There is only a period of 3 months. I heard this from disciples of all factions. Yekong understood. Those head infants must be afraid that these disciples would not dare to take risks in order to steal their lives, so they relented and did not open the door for less than 3 months, forcing the disciples to hunt for treasure. In fact, the ancestors of Yuanying really think so. They have all stayed in Yuanying for a long time. If you do want to get it quickly, you have further hope. However, they could not enter the north of Kangbei, and they were afraid that the disciples would be afraid to explore, so the ancestors of Yuanying simply made an appointment and did not open the door for 3 months. Of course, they knew the danger of Kangbei from the sky. It was because of danger that they used this backwater war. Seeing that there was no hope of going back, and listening to Yekong's talk about how dangerous Kangbei was, the timid disciples fell to the ground and looked desperately at the high wall. The bold disciples, as the ancestors wished, set aside their hearts and prepared to continue to explore treasure hunts. The first to leave were Yu Minghui and the Acacia ancestors, etc. In order to find the condensed chalcedony needed by his Prince Viang to reshape the body, no matter how great the danger is, he must go. Then they left the disciples of Spirit Beast Mountain. They heard that there were all kinds of monsters here, and they were all happy to die. They are especially good at catching and breeding monsters, and there is a magical skill of combining beasts with humans and beasts in the Spirit Beast Mountain. If you catch a monster that others don't have and practice special and powerful exercises, your strength will greatly increase. So Spirit Beast Mountain was busy and went to catch the monster. Then several other denominations also set off. They all claimed to have some strength, or did not believe Yekong, and went to find treasure. However, most of the disciples remained. Although someone had a Lihaizen name, some prestige still existed. However, these disciples who remain are also worried. Is it just waiting for 3 months? How can I go back and explain to the sect ancestors after 3 months? What if the first few factions find the baby first? The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 593. May 4th Joint Treasure Hunt. It was another night. On the 3rd day when Lian Ruolan entered Kangbei, she and the disciples of Ling Yaoshan occupied a part of the defensive formation, all sitting cross-legged, waiting for Yekong's decision. Just now, the captains of the 10 denominations left have asked Yekong to lead them to seek treasure together. If you are a real person, in fact, you can do 2 joint actions of Ling Yaoshan and our Tian Dao men. Why should you be with those messy sects? In case you really find treasures, you will not be divided. Zhang Hongqing of Tiandaomen didn't believe Yekong's words very much. In fact, he wanted to go for treasure hunt earlier, just because he had practiced Ruolan, so he stayed. Lian Ruolan hated this person, and looked at him with an expressionless expression, and replied, Zhang Daiyu doesn't want to stay before leaving. No one here forces you to stay at Tiandaomen. Zhang Hongqing asked for nothing, his heart was depressed, and he walked away with a smile. Zhang Hongqing walked back to the Tiandaomen camp, and a companion from Tiandaomen immediately came over and said, Brother Zhang, you touched the nail again? It was said earlier that the refining Ruolan of the Ling Yaoshan is not good, and they are called to make the iceberg. Zhang Hongqing turned his head to look at the moving figure in the Ling Yaoshan camp. He sneered, "Brother Tianbo, you don't understand. The more icebergs are outside, the hotter your heart is. As long as you can get on the couch and play a few times, you will be sure. It's too hot for a man." The colleague named Tianbo also looked at Lianrulan, swallowed and spit, and whispered, "It looks like brother has a way." Zhang Hongqing laughed, "This Kangbei continent is dangerous. As long as I follow her, I won't worry about it. As long as she is injured or exhausted, and there are no people around, I will, ha ha ha." Tianbo nodded and asked, "Lianrulan, like his brother, is already a false Dan realm, and I'm afraid the opportunity is not easy to come by." Zhang Hongqing laughed, "I don't create opportunities without opportunities." The two laughed. Zhang Hongqing laughed and said, "This man is chasing a woman to do everything. In fact, this is also the Tao of Heaven. It is our pursuit of the Tao of Heaven." It was their whispered conversation, but behind them, there was a stealthy man who could hear clearly. It is Yekong. In fact, he is willing to take these 10 sects for adventure. Since there are still 3 months, he can't wait to die. We won't go to the Moza territory. But which of the 10 denominations can be trusted and which cannot be trusted? If there is a knife behind the back, there will be a crisis. Therefore, Yekong pasted the hidden charms, and came to hear the conversation behind them. Listen to whether they really want to follow their own. Unexpectedly, I really heard the conversation between the two of Tiandaomen. Tiandaomen self-services everything that is in line with the Tao of Heaven. The disciples are in constant flow, so the image is still good, and the outside world thinks that they are very just. In fact, Yekong had long been aware of their righteousness. When the various factions counterattacked the Yuan sect, they saw a Tiandaomen disciple rape the nun in public. How could a true justice disciple behave like this? But if Yekong assassinates them, they think they are too cheap. If the killing is clear and there is no evidence, say it. Maybe no one believes in themselves, and it is also related to Lianrulan, which will cause bad influence. How to kill them? Yekong's eyes turned, and he suddenly thought of something he had nowhere to throw. "What is over there?" Zhang Hongqing, who was laughing, suddenly noticed that there was a faint golden light shining out of the field not far away. "There are treasures." Zhang Hongqing's eyes lighted up. He found an excuse to leave, walked out of the array, and found a small gold sign in a grass outside. "Oriental Emperor? What is it? Could it be something from the upper realm?" Zhang Hongqing picked up an immortal item somehow, and naturally he was overjoyed. He never thought about it and put the brand in a storage bag. "Hey, it seems that this Kangbei is a treasure everywhere, so you can pick up the fairy items. If you pick up 2 fairy swords, then it will be issued." Zhang Hongqing walked back to the battle with great mood, and there is already a heavenly gate. The news came from the same door, saying that Li Hezi had agreed to take everyone to hunt for treasure. 10 denominations left. They are Mixed Yuan Zone, Linjiashan, Yunfuzong, Refining Zone, Sword Dock, Corpse Yanzong, Qingmingwu, Kixingzong, Yungziazong, and Tiandaomen. Although there may be some contradictions among us, there are also a few specious people, but basically, most of them support Yekong. Mixed Yuan Zone will not say it, that is Yekong's own. As the leader of the Elixir Mountain Refining Rulan, he also trusted Yekong. Yunfuzong waited for everyone. That was Yekong's brothers. Even the old man Lin Tianwu admired Yekong very much. The dead Yin sect originally hated Yekong, but Wang Tingshi had a good relationship with him, and he certainly wouldn't be behind. The other disciples of Zuji also basically admired Yekong, only Tiandaomen. They are self-assertive and disdain to associate with this heartless Li Haizan, but only because the leader Zhang Hongqing wants to pursue refining Rulan. This is all left. Yekong didn't like them either, but think about the Tianyuanman's current Yuan Ying who has no resentment against him. If these Tiandamen guys don't mess up, he just wants to punish Zhang Hongqing and Tianbo. In addition, there are a few who are not satisfied with Ye Kong. The pair of swordsmen in the dock are all real people from Zheji, a man named Li Zhaohong and a woman named Xianxia. Ye Kong eavesdropped on their conversation, and just heard that the woman named Xianxia was saying that Wang Jun of Sword Dock was not, saying that the original Yuan Ying was unfair, so a good artifact, why give it to an outsider? Then Li Zhaohong also complained a lot and complained that the sects were unfair. Both of them were successful in building the foundation. Why didn't the leader let them do it? At the same time, they also hated Ye Kong, who got the big sword. But Ye Kong didn't take it seriously. All the monks here are real people who built the base, and there is nothing to worry about. Although Ye Kong built the 5th floor, it is only a matter of minutes to kill them. Be honest, I won't move you. If you have any bad ideas, don't blame me. 10 homes, plus Ye Kong and Wang Tingshi who joined later, were a total of 97 people. Soon, the leaders of the 10 homes came together. Before leaving, everyone still had to talk about the distribution of benefits as usual. Ye Kong's meaning is that since everyone is working together, then revenue sharing, but most of them are opposed, insisting that whoever finds it to whom, it seems that they all believe that they are lucky. The last few clashes were settled. Small things, any treasures of heaven or earth, or the lost things of the ancient times, are discovered to anyone. For big things, such as the Lingxi mine, or the ancient monk's palace, let's explore together and finally share them together. If you get the practice method of each faction, you will give it to any faction. As for the monster inside the monster or the captured monster, it depends on the individual's ability, whoever kills and catches will give it to anyone. This must go down, and everyone will have no opinion. What makes Ye Kong the most headache is not the distribution of these benefits, but the problem of the map. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 594. Early Preparation. The leaders of each faction got a map from the Yuan Ying when they left. However, their Kangbei maps are all different, and they are all found out from the martial books. It's almost 200,000 years old, and the maps of the various factions have all been lost. Even some of the maps are still understandable, but the drawings are extremely incomplete. The maps of the 10 sects are contrasted, and Ye Kong is dizzy. In addition, each family is selfish and only shows the position of their denomination 200,000 years ago on the map. Other denominations are not marked, even if they are deliberately omitted. Xianxia has sent several people to cross the road. The map is a little more detailed, but the range is limited to the frontier of thousands of miles in front, and no longer. In the following time, the leaders of the 10 denominations compiled the 10 maps. On a clear old map, the positions of each of their denominations were marked. Ye Kong took the map and frowned again. In fact, this time when I came to Kangbei, other treasures were secondary. The most important thing was the follow-up exercises of various denominations. Not only did the ancestors of Yuanying want that thing, but even these real people who built the foundation, which one did not want? Who doesn't want to soar into fairy? It is very difficult to find these follow-up exercises. The only possibility is that in the original headquarters of each sect in Kangbei, the 10 sects are in front of them. Except for Sword Dock, Sword Dock is not an ancient sect, other sects are the headquarters of Kangbei are all far north. According to Yamamoto Kenran, 10,000 miles north, it would be within the control of the demons, which is really a headache. But Ye Kong looked at this map, but he always felt familiar. He believed that he had never seen the map, nor had he read the relevant books. But why do you feel familiar? Take a closer look, there is a row of small letters on the old picture reminding Ye Kong. Kangbei Mountains and Rivers Map. Mountains and Rivers Map. Yekong hurriedly took out the barren mountains and rivers map in his storage ring, and a comparison made him jump suddenly. What a wild map of mountains and rivers, obviously is the map of Kangbei. The most outrageous thing is that not only the various schools are marked out, but even many mines, and many places of production of materials, all of them are out. In fact, Yekong didn't know that the signs were mines, but the Lingxi mine found by the dead Yin sect, which was also shown on the barren mountain and river map, so Yekong was only sure. This wild mountain map is indeed a treasure. With this map, all the various minerals in Kangbei are all in their own hands. Yekong thought of this, and quickly put away the barren mountains and rivers. In the early morning of the next day, the mighty 100-member squad set off. Who knew that as soon as he set off, he encountered another problem? Because the previous day stipulated that those small objects, heavenly treasures, were given to anyone who found them, so everyone had to walk in front of the queue, hoping to discover the treasures first. For these various disputes, Yekong also cares nothing. Laozi is not your parent or commander of the legion. What do you care about? Fight. You're afraid that what you find first will not be treasures, but the road to Huangquan. The front end of the 100-member squad is chaotic. Yekong also understands why everyone is unwilling to split the treasures encountered on the road, and each of them is prepared. Yun Fuzong was carrying a treasure-hunting mouse, and the treasure-hunting mouse dragging a large tail slippery. It was said that he was very sensitive to all kinds of natural treasures. The alchemy sect is equipped with a spiritual mirror. Generally, the aura where the treasure is located must be abundant. With this mirror, it is easy to find the abundant aura. The 7-star sect has a spiritual treasure, and when it is heard that treasures appear in the area, it will tweet. King Minggu is carrying a vine that moves under the ground, passing by, good things buried underground, all in one net. Yun Xiaozong is a treasure-hunting eagle. Watching them busy, Yekong walking behind turned his head and smiled at Lianrulan, and Lianrulan also returned a bright smile, the feeling that everything was silent, deep into the bone marrow, sweet and silky. This scene looks to many people. Tiandaemin Zhang Hongqing, of course, was angry. He chased Lianrulan for a while, and he didn't even get a good face. Why did Lianrulan smile at him? Didn't he laugh at me? The people of Yun Fuzong, especially Huang Zixuan, wondered. I didn't hear that brother Hazy I knew Lianrulan. Why didn't their eyes look right? The dead Yin sect Wang Tingshi looked bitter in heart, but then thought that we are friends. I should be happy for my good friends. Why be jealous? Everyone walked northward all the way, and after walking for a day, they did not encounter any danger. The tensions were relaxed one after another, as if not to explore in a dangerous place, but to go outing. There were some gains on the first day. There were no people in this 200,000 years of Kangbei. There were really a lot of spirits and trees, and the age was long enough. Almost every sect has got a few plants. Seeing the danger, but seeing the harvest, they were very happy, and even prepared to hunt for treasure overnight. But this time, Yekong resolutely disagreed. You are not afraid of death, I'm afraid of death. You don't know how dangerous this night in the Kangbei jungle is. In the choice of the overnight camp, Yekong argued with Zhang Hongqing of Tiandaemin. Zhang Hongqing believes that since it is time to rest, set up camp on a hill in front, stand tall and look far. Yekong insisted on staying away from the hill. There is no reason, just because of the omniscient admonition, if you encounter a mountain, you will retreat, if you encounter water, you will go upstream, and if you encounter a treasure, you will take a shot. Although Yekong couldn't make sense, but with the support of Ling Yaoshan, Yun Fuzong, and Dead Yinzong, he chose to camp in an open flat. Night fell, and the moonlight was like a hook. In the defensive formation under the 7 stars Zongview, all factions occupied a place, meditated cross-legged, and it was quiet. However, many people are not so quiet in their hearts. After this day, some sectarian disciples began to feel that this Kangbei is not dangerous. Li Hezi is completely exaggerating the danger. He is as timid as a mouse. It's a real delay because everyone is a monk. Why do you have to rest at night? Finding treasures is right. As they were thinking, they heard a low beast roar in the distance, which was the roar of the male and female beasts who had eaten crickets last time. This piece of territory is its territory. It has been so annoying recently that it has always been disturbed by human monks with short eyes. This is something it can't stand, especially this team. Digged a lot of fairy grass and trees in its sphere of influence. This makes it very annoying. Damn, when Lao Tzu doesn't exist. Let you see the power of the Beast Master now. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 595. May 9, 1996 is the herd. Disciples of all factions have no experience, but Yekong and Wang Tingshi have experience. Hearing the familiar call, Yekong immediately stood up and shouted, "Monster, everyone is ready for battle." When everyone heard it, they all stood up, various instruments were sacrificed, and they watched the woods outside the battlefield vigilantly. But after waiting for a while, even the root animal hare did not appear, and the roar of the surrounding mountains disappeared, very quiet. Well, I can't think of Li Hezi who was so brave in Kangnan. When he came to Kangbei, he was so frightened that he heard a call from outside. It was so tense. I think I know what a wind is like, a crane and a tree. Zhang Hongqing couldn't help but sneer. The most hateful, Li Zhaohong of Sword Dock also agreed, isn't it just a common beast roar, bluffing, showing that he has great ability. Zhang Hongqing looked at Yekong sarcastically, and said, "How is it? I'm so angry. Just you, Blackbird, still want to grab a woman with me?" Yekong was really furious when he heard it. Damn, it doesn't matter. Even if I misreport an enemy attack, I am kind. He stared and walked to Zhang Hongqing. Zhang Hongqing has a big chest. I'd like to see how powerful you are in the 5 floors. Pop, a loud big mouth drew on Zhang Hongqing's face, and everyone was choked. If you don't want to follow Lao Tzu, get out of me. One mouth didn't hurt the monk, but his face couldn't come up and down. Zhang Hongqing's eyes flared with fire. Li Hezi, I fight with you. Suddenly the 10 monks at Tiandamen held swords facing Yekong, but here, all the disciples from Yunyuanzong Yunfuzong Linjiashan all came over. Tianbo whispered, "Brother Zhang, they are all powerful and the situation is not good for us." Zhang Hongqing strongly suppressed the anger, and said arbitrarily, "Slap today and report tomorrow." After receiving the slap, they can't stay here in Tiandamen. Zhang Hongqing waved his hand, "Let us go." As they stepped out, Yekong looked coldly at Li Zhaohong and others, shouting, "All you don't want to stay, you can get away. Maybe you can dig a lot of treasures in the evening." Li Zhaohong and others have lowered their heads, their heart said, "What is fierce," and they just bully others. It was originally your fault. What kind of enemy attack did you report? Don't you scare us, are we dissatisfied? Although many disciples of other factions are not dissatisfied, they also have some distrust in Yekong. But at this moment, I suddenly heard a huge sound from all sides, as if the river was breaking the bank, the sea was flooding, and the loud noise came along with the earth-shattering tide, and the ground kept shaking. Animal herd. Everyone is ready. Yekong couldn't care less about Li Zhaohong. Judging by sound and vibration, this time the herd was countless times larger than the one he encountered last time. The disciples of Tiandamen who have just stepped out of the battlefield will regret it, but now go back. Zhang Hongqing was also embarrassed and had to drink, lift off. Wow, the turbulent beasts swarmed like a tide, rushing down the surrounding hillside. Except Yekong and Wang Tingshi, everyone else saw the scene for the first time, and they were all stunned by the momentum of the beasts. The 7-star sect protects the formation, and the other formations are ready to fight. If the formation is broken, everyone quickly lifts off. Remember, don't rise too high. Yekong's roar immediately awakened everyone. Ready to fight, the leaders of the teams issued orders, and at the same time they were thinking that it was true to follow Li Heze. If it was not for his camp, at this moment, he might be trampled by the herd. The herd arrived in a blink of an eye. Countless monsters bombarded the array with their own bodies. The roar was endless. The monsters were extremely fast, and many of them hit the skull and broke their brains. All the people who built the base here have also participated in some battles recently, but they have never seen such a daunting scene, killing a monster, and rushing to the back with 10 to death, and hundreds. Only. The corpse of the monster in front was trampled into slime, and the monster behind stepped on the bright red mud. Of course, the most distressed is someone. Don't step on it, a lot of monsters. It's all money. Everyone was frightened, and those monks who cultivated in the early days of building the foundation were even more indifferent. Many of them outside are low-grade monsters of middle grade, and medium-grade monsters of medium grade. You know, they are struggling to deal with one, and now there are thousands. Fortunately, the disciples of Qixingzong are quite competent. Under the arrangement of their leader Chen Yu, they have built a 2-layer defense matrix inside the defense array. They were peaceful in the formation, but in the sky above them, everyone in Tiandamen was miserable. There are beasts on the ground, and birds in the sky. They are surrounded by Spitfire crows. Although they will not be defeated, there are too many Spitfire crows. How long can their spiritual power sustain? And watching the leisure of the monks below, their hearts are not balanced. Damn, Zhang Hongqing, if it weren't for you, we are also in the formation, why bother with a group of birds? The monk who was dissatisfied with Zhang Hongqing began to lower his height. In the end, a few injured and unsustainable spirits fled to the top of the battlefield and wanted to come in. Yekong did not refuse, and instructed Chen Yu to open the formation and let them in. The disciples in Tiandamen all thanked them. The disciples of Tiandamen learned one by one, and they all came down. Finally, Zhang Hongqing and Tianbo were left in the sky. They could not support without their teammates. There is no way, then go on. The choice between shame and fall is easy to make. Zhang Hongqing and Tianbo also flew over the large array and said, Lord Zhong, Zhang has offended a lot just now, so don't blame me. Because I didn't trust Zhong Li, I have been punished. Now I see ANT fight again, please, there is a large number of Lord Li, let me wait. Zhang Hongqing opened his mouth to admit his mistakes, and he was very bright. This hand played beautifully, which made all the disciples admire. Tiandamen was indeed a brilliant festival, right and wrong. Yekong also had a good time not to let them in, and waved his hand to signal Chen Yu's opening up again. If you don't say much, you must accept my command when you return, Yekong said. Of course, after Zhang Hongqing came in, he was out of breath. Then you recover quickly, there will be a war soon. Looking at Yekong's back, Zhang Hongqing's eyes showed resentment. Li Heze, I will sooner or later return the insult you gave me. The impact of this monster was really fierce. It lasted for more than half an hour. I do know how many monsters rushed to the past. The monsters that died before the defensive formation were countless. He was defeated by 2 layers, and the last formation was also shaky. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 596. 55 7th Battle Beasts. The herd passed, and everyone was relieved. The 7-star sect Chen Yu came over and smiled, Zhong Li, if you hadn't already prepared, we are afraid to die here today. It seems that Kangbei is indeed better than we imagine it to be dangerous. Like Chen Yu, the leaders of other factions also came over, and now they have more confidence in Yekong. But Yekong waved his hand and said, "Dear people, the danger has not passed. As far as I know these monsters, they are endless. Next, it is a more fierce attack." When everyone heard this, they suddenly became tense, and then looked outside, and saw that in the black forest, there were countless red spots of light, which were the fierce eyes of the bloodthirsty beasts. The red light flickered and stared at the array. The human monk, looking far away, looks like countless red stars, weird and horrible. So what do? We can't wait to die here, right? Yun Fuzong's old Lin Tianwu asked quickly. Everyone nodded. Too many of these monsters, are you ready to break through? Yekong shook his head and said, "Everyone, it is very difficult to break through. With our number, even if we break out, there are not many left, it is better to waste them with them here. These monsters obviously do not see us. Strength, that's why we are so mad, we have to take the initiative to attack them, kill them, hurt them, and be afraid. Then they will return obediently." Everyone already had absolute trust in Yekong. After hearing what he said, they all nodded in preparation for battle. Allocation according to Leaf Empty. All the beasts in the late period of the construction period deal with beasts in the middle stage of the middle class. Everyone was divided into 2 batches, and they went out to kill the beasts in turn. The 7-star sect left several people and kept setting up new formations to ensure a place for healing and healing. This allocation is a little unfair to Tiandaemen, but they can't help it. If Yekong didn't let them in, they would all be hanging in the sky. Roar, under the roar of the distant ancient beast male and female, the herd attacked again. "Everyone goes with me," Yekong shouted, taking dozens of monks out of the defense. The beasts roared deafeningly, and rushed over in madness, and the monks of each faction whistled, sacrificing their own instruments, flying swords out of their sheaths, and all the brilliance fell in the beast group. Suddenly, the flesh flew through the beast swarm, and countless monsters were beheaded, but the number of those monsters was huge. The more they killed, the more they surrounded them. At one time, the roar of killing was intertwined, sword and blood flying around the sky. The monsters behind continued to rush forward, but the front was blocked by human monks, and they also died a lot when trampled on each other. In less than half an hour, the beast had died and injured thousands. Looking at the bodies of so many beasts, everyone is still killing wildly. No one is digging the beasts in the corpses because they know that this moment is a moment of life and death. Life is gone. What is the use of spirit stones? However, the next battle was even more difficult. Every monk found that the monster was getting harder and harder to kill. Just now with a sword, you can cut a seemingly fierce beast into 2 pieces, and some powerful flying swords can penetrate the bodies of several monsters at once. And now, the flying sword that was sent out was either returned by the beast horns of the beasts, or was bitten by those sharp teeth, and it took a lot of effort to retract it. The beast slowly shrunk the encirclement and separated and surrounded the monks. Many monks were injured, but the monsters were still approaching. A team of monks returned to the big team. Yekong then threw out a flying fish sword, blasted a gap, and led the monks back into the team. Looking at the numbers again, there are already 7 or 8 monks out of the battlefield, and they will never be able to return. The return is also a whole body of blood, and they swallowed the elixir and sat down to heal the wounds. Second team of monks, kill me again, Yekong roared and tried to kill again. You've been out just now, let's take a break. Huang Zixuan hurried over to persuade, and Lian Ruolan and Wang Tingshi also looked at him with concern. It's okay, kill everyone who can kill, and come back quickly when there is no energy. There is no time limit, and those who are exhausted and injured can come back to rest. It is not heroism that sacrifices more, it is heroism that kills more beasts. Although Yekong said so, who wants to pretend to be injured and take a break in the battle? If we can't just kill these beasts, everyone will escape. Even the selfish people will give their best at this moment. Yekong no longer conceals his strength and identity, and releases Howling Wolf King, taking out Jing Guanjiao, although Jing Guanjiao is overbearing, but the scope is too small, too slow to kill the enemy. Yekong replaced Fu Bao, all of which are magic treasures, can be divided into 2, 2, 4, and 8, divided into thousands, swarmed over, and a kill is a large piece. Howling Wolf King is even more powerful, shouting his head, countless blue wind blades flying, and monsters are dead and injured. Although Yekong's Jingguangzi is useless for a few times, it has been seen by many people. Others are still thinking, but the disciples of the Elixir Mountain can see clearly, this is their ancient treasure of the Elixir Mountain. Ma Xiao Ei froze, then immediately figured out the joints. No wonder that Ruolan had a good impression on Li Hizi, which turned out to be the case. Ma Xiao Ei even conveyed Yekong with divine knowledge, "Boy, I'm so hard to hide it." Yekong laughed. He didn't want to hide it anymore. If he didn't have the chance to announce, let you know the truth with the facts. The second person who guessed Yekong's identity was the Qingming crowd. The monks in Qingming were present, and several of them had seen Yekong using this golden light at the gate of their Qingming gate. But they guessed and pretended they didn't know. Now is the time of crisis. Let's save your lives. Are you hostile to this boy now? Tiandaemen is the lesson learned. Driven by Yekong, everyone killed more and more fiercely, all sacrificed the ability of pressing the bottom of the box. Lin Tianhui once again released the repaired stone goblet. The giant stone goblet picked up a bear and beast and smashed it. Corpse Yinzong has formed a zombie formation, and those zombies have become bronze heads and iron arms, and the corpse poison is spreading among the beasts. Yunxia Zone even created a huge Yunxia silk satin. The beautiful silk satin was also amazing. It enveloped several monsters and killed them all. The most powerful is the energy gun of the alchemist section. They were unwilling to take out because they needed to consume too many spirit stones. At this point, I couldn't help it. After a shot, a large number of monsters evaporated into ashes in white light. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 597. 598 Male and Female. The heavenly gates in the sky were also spelled together, and the three scenes of heavenly heaven were offered together. This is one of their ancient treasures. A huge map opens in the sky. There are mountains, water, and cities on the map. The paintings are vivid. This is called the three heavenly sceneries. Several monks from Tiandaemen worked together to drive the huge scroll, and when the colorful light rose to the sky, hundreds of immortals disappeared instantly. Looking at the scroll, there were hundreds of flying birds. As a result of their killing, even the beasts who were not afraid of death were afraid of being killed, and they flinched and dared not come over, just yelling at them from afar. The beast master male and female who have been hiding can't sit still. Originally, he thought that his beast army would easily kill these human monks. However, he did not expect that the idea was too hard. He attacked for 2 hours, and the other party became more and more brave. Nearly half. Well, then the beast will go out on his own. Roar, a roar of beasts, as if from a distant antiquity, a flood of wild air rose up, and before the monks had time to celebrate victory, they saw the mountains shaking in front of them. The shaking is getting bigger and bigger, the rolling hills are like the tide on the sea, with high and low fluctuations. When everyone was surprised, they couldn't help thinking of Yekong's cleverness. If the camp had been set up on the mountain just now, even the multi-layered formation would be broken at this moment. Boom, another loud noise, the mountain in front of it split, and a huge monster with 2 heads appeared. Unlike other beasts, this male and female animals are hairless and have smooth red skin. Looking at the 2 big heads, it looks a bit like a newborn 2-headed freak, but the face is much uglier than a human baby. The red skin was full of wrinkles, and eyes as big as a fist glowed blue, and on the sides of the corners of the mouth, there were several long beards of catfish. And its body is like a staircase of maggots, it came out of the soil, and the whole body was carrying dirt. It seemed to be coming from a distant underground. Roar, it roared, looking at the dozens of monks in front of it. This thing resembles people but not humans, it looks ugly and disgusting. Everyone can't help but concentrate in the formation, and they are all surprised. Juninj gun, get ready. Use top-grade spirit stone. You can get more of the loot, Yekong yelled quickly. Yes, everyone at the refiner sect was overjoyed. The corpses of tens of thousands of monsters outside, half of them were how many beasts, skins, tendons, and bones, those are spirit stones. Lian Jizong is more familiar with these materials and knows the market, so he has worked hard. On the top of the top-grade spirit stone, the power of the charge gun sword, and the aura of the gun muzzle had reached a horrible level. Yekong felt that the power of the charge gun was no less than the power of his middle-level aura. But it's an ancient beast, even if you have a middle-order psychic explosion, it has little effect on it. Looking at the white light emitted by the Juninj gun, the male and female beasts swallowed the white light without a trace. The next few cannons fired at the same time, and the two heads moved up and down, swallowing up a few white beams. The only bunch finally hit its body, leaving only a round black spot on the red wrinkled skin. Everyone was dumbfounded. Everyone knows the power of the energy gun. This gun, the Yuan dynasty monk, was also seriously injured. However, for this ancient beast, it was basically useless. How to do? Everyone looked at each other. However, the male and female beasts roared, "Abominable human monks dare to attack me? It hurts me, so hot, you have to pay the price. All die." The male and female beasts flew over with huge worm-like bodies. "Stop it," Lin Tianwu ordered Xian. Although the male and female animals are huge, but the stone urn is also quite large, everyone thinks that the stone urn can resist. But the fact is unexpected, the body of the male and female beasts hit the stone urns, as if dying and dying, like eggs hitting stones. But this time, the stone man became an egg. Boom, Xian was smashed, those stone arms flying around. In this way, he was unable to stop the male and female beasts from hitting the ground. The outermost formation method broke instantly. Boom, the second formation was also broken. Everyone is concentrated in the middle. "Let's arrange new formations," Qixingzong Chenyu shouted. The disciples of Qixingzong kept lowering their flags and arrays of formations. But it's useless. The Honghuang ancient beast is too powerful. It is faster to break the formation than to form the formation, and the layer-by-layer formation method becomes smaller as you go in. One day, it will be too small to fit into everyone. Release the array. Everyone takes off, critical, Yekong ordered decisively. Probably I saw Yekong's leadership position. The male and female beasts stared at Yekong. When all the monks took off, it suddenly opened their mouths and a powerful air stream blew out. When they stabilized their bodies, they found that someone had been caught by a long tongue and dragged into the big mouth of the male and female beasts. "Hey brother! Master Li! Little thief!" The crowd panicked and rushed to save Yekong, but flames were sprayed from the other skull of the male and female beasts, and the firewall generally blocked them. The firewall blocked everyone's sight. Yekong's friends and several women were anxious. Now Ma Xiao Ei takes over as the leader of Linjiao Mountain, Lian Ruolan commanded and stopped, sacrificing the spiritual shield, and rushed into the sea of fire with an umbrella-shaped defense weapon on top. It was so hard to meet. A love affair has not been said yet. Just see him fall like this? Absolutely not. To die together. Those who want to die with Yekong can not only practice Ruolan. Huang Zixuan saw Yekong use Jing Guangxiu and also understood his identity. You can die with him, so can I. Huang Zixuan also rushed in. Wang Tingshi said nothing, wrapped in a black gas, and rushed into the sea of fire almost at the same time. Cao Junfan laughed, "You blackbird, why can't the Huayun give us a little bit?" After finishing, a spin, wrapped in a layer of veil-like magic weapon, also rushed in. Ma Xiaoyi sighed in his heart, "Sister, you can do everything for him, I can actually do everything for you." After finishing, I sacrificed a bead emitting water and rushed in. Watching the crowd desperately for their suzerain, 5 disciples of Yuan Zong also rushed in. "Everyone at Tiandamen has been watching," Tianbo said to himself, "are they all dead? Is that Li Heza worth them?" Zhang Hongqing was also shocked. If the preceding few despised these flames, or relying on his own defense weapon, he wanted to make a blockbuster. He didn't understand a few people who came in later. The most depressing thing is that Ye Zhengke of the Yunfuzong school had repaired it in the early stage of construction, and there was no defense weapon. He actually rushed in with a shield of spiritual power. Did he not know that this was the fire of the ancient beast? Not his mother's cooking. "They are crazy," Zhang Hongqing concluded. Lin Tianwu, who stood next to him, snorted, "I only know heaven. But humane, you never understand." The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 598. 5 or 9 Beast Head Fuxi. In fact, it is still very dangerous to be caught by the tongue of the male and female beasts. If swallowed, it will undoubtedly die. That big mouth is that the spiritual light emitted by the energy cannon can be digested. Yekong's flesh is not worse than the spiritual light, right? The tongue must be severed, and it must not be swallowed. Sword into silk. Kim Kwangsu. Sword burst. All useless. The fierce strength of this ancient monster animal is arguably the strongest in the world, and it is difficult to hurt it without the weapons of the upper world. It seems that only the broken ferry road is used. Although there are serious consequences with that gadget, it is better than death. But before the ferry bow was taken out, he had a flash of aura. "Do I still have a fairy sword? Yamamoto Kenran Sanpin fairy sword." At this moment, it was only 2 feet from the mouth of the ancient beast. The smell could be smelled clearly and disgusting. Yekong took out the golden fairy sword and slashed it. Puff. The tongue of the male and female beasts was cut off, and the fairy sword was really powerful. With its own sharpness and power, it could cut the tongue of the male and female beast. Oh, when the male and female beasts were so injured, they suddenly screamed and rolled on the ground in pain. One head was injured, the other opened his mouth quickly to bite Yekong. The flame in his mouth stopped, and Lianrulan, who rushed into the sea of fire, and others turned into danger. Yekong, who fell from the air, twirled in the pose of Yingwu, while the fairy sword in his hand continued to draw numerous wounds on the large and thick body of the male and female beasts. Bang! Yekong stood firmly on the back of the male and female beasts. The ancient beast was really huge, and the thick back was like a ridge. Yekong was a sharp sword, deeply pierced into the back of the male and female beasts, and the male and female beasts twisted wildly and painfully. The great body like a large green worm rolled, and wanted to give Yekong to shake off your body. "Huh? Are you not big? Let me dig an authentic tunnel in you," Yekong said, and the fairy sword flew, and a few holes were dug open and drilled in. The people behind him only saw Yekong drill down, but did not see the fairy sword held in his hand. Lianrulan and others flew over and saw that Yekong was all right, and they put their hearts back in their stomachs. But they also couldn't come down. The savage ancient beast twisted and rolled like crazy, its skin was so hard, and the general magic could not hurt. They came down and only added chaos, so they all flew in the air and released the flying sword charm. Attack the weak link like the male and female eyes. For a while, the sound of explosions kept ringing, and numerous brilliances of various colors exploded on the male and female beasts. This flood-dead ancient beast rolled like crazy, wherever it passed, all the trees were overwhelmed, even the thickest old tree was knocked down and crushed into pieces. Such a twist may have an effect on the people outside it, but it does not have any effect on the leaf space that penetrates into its body. Yekong held his breath, regardless of the cross-flow of blood and water, and no matter what organs were dug, he just dug wildly. His eyes were red, his nose was bloody, and his entire body was inside the male and female beasts. But this can't stop him. In front of me, what is the Honghuang ancient beast, what is the male and female beast? As long as I have a sword in hand, as long as I have a breath, as long as I have a firm heart, I will kill you. I will hollow out your body completely. If you know, you messed up Yekong and you didn't end well. The male and female beasts rolled for a full hour, and then stopped slowly. Its giant worm-like body appeared sunken and uneven, and apparently it had been hollowed out. Both of his heads were yanked down, no longer as fierce as before. However, Yekong didn't come out. The people standing in the sky were a little nervous. The male and female were all dead. Why didn't Yekong come out yet? Just when everyone was terribly worried, suddenly a loud noise was heard from the male and female beasts, and a figure rushed out, holding a shiny fist with a large fist in his hand. "Hey, brother is out. Master will win. Long live the Lord." Disciples of all factions cheered. They did not expect Yekong to kill the ancient beasts of Honghuang. If not Yekong, they would be dead today. Looking at Yekong, who was bloody, Lian Ruolan's eyes were also filled with tears. "Wow, that's a big monster. This is the Neodan of the Honghuang ancient beast. You are rich." Cao Junfan and a few other friends have gathered around, although they have already guessed that Li Hizi is Yekong, but whoever it is, they only recognize that this is my good friend, Kuriko. "Don't talk nonsense, just get some water to wash." Brother Hizi Huang Zixuan also welcomed him. Zhang Wulin laughed, "It's enough to have a water spell, but, Xian, wouldn't you want to help the sunspot take a bath?" "Get off." Huang Zixuan blushed, kicked Zhang Wulin, and fled. "The beast's head is dying, let's harvest the loot," Yekong yelled again, and then he went to a place where no one was taking a bath to change clothes. Hearing Yekong, everyone was cheering again. There were as many corpses of tens of thousands of monsters at the scene. "What a great fortune, Zongpan Intermediate Beast Dan, one can sell 2,000 spirit stones, the Beast Dan of the lower grades of middle grade, each of the 800 spirit stones, the lower grade of 300 soul stones, this calculation, everyone is rich. And those monster skins, bones, and scale armor are all materials for making magic tools. The harvest this evening is much more valuable than the natural treasures dug during the day." However, the number of corpses was staggering. Each person filled the storage bags, and they couldn't fit. Finally, they dug up a monster. The corpses of the monsters are not limited, and they are taken away separately, but the beast den was finally gathered and distributed by everyone. Those who are in the foundation period are usually in the sect, and they can take the worship of 50 spirit stones every month even if they have a high income. Now they are divided into hundreds of beasts, and they are excited to shut up and get back to Kangnan. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of spirits. Big. However, the dead bodies of the Honghuang ancient beasts did not move. Yekong killed them, and they should be owned by Yekong. Of course, even if they were moved, they couldn't move. This guy's skin is so hard that he can't cut it with anything. Even if the spirit stone cannon can't break, what else can they do? Everyone was very curious. What weapon did Yekong use to break open its skin and dig out a hole the size of a person? Yekong wouldn't say anything about this, kill an immortal, or be an official immortal, just say it and wait for death. Yekong changed his clothes and walked back directly, took out the storage ring and put the male and female beasts into the ring. He now has 2 storage rings, one left by the mixed UN Zone Lei Miao, a 7-layer storage ring, which can completely accept the huge male and female beasts. Kill monsters, dig beasts, and distribute loot. Everyone lived all night, everyone smiled and got rich. This is what they deserved. This is what everyone exchanged for their lives. To the reader. 5 more today. I wish you a happy National Day. I hope everyone has a good mood. Xiao Man's ancestors were not in a good mood when he woke up today. The first day of the new moon was exploded. I thought, I do nt have less outbreaks than others. I do nt have less than others. I publish a few chapters every day for everyone to read. Unlike others who publish a chapter for hours, I never fooled readers. The more I think, the more depressed. However, I read the comments left by everyone in the comments, and I had the urge to burst into tears. I suddenly realized that do nt care about rankings. With the support and warm words of your brothers and sisters, this is the most important thing. No matter the number, I want to keep my current status and try to be better. Of course, it would be better if we could go up. To paraphrase Yekong's tone, I have so many enthusiastic brothers and so many warm-hearted sisters. What else do I worry about? As long as I have a sword in hand, as long as I have a winning heart, no matter what or XXX, I will cut it. Friends, please give me a sword. At the same time, a new rule for adding more and more is announced. Every day, the Dragon and Phoenix rankings reach 1,000 points. The next day, a chapter will be added. The bricks, recommendation tickets, and collections are all counted. Everyone goes to the website to register a number collection. Some readers, I do nt show comments there. I want to make guest comments on the page, both mobile and computer pages are fine. Xianxian Xiankaiu, Xianxian v5. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 599. 63 Pins of Fairy. Everyone's face was filled with joy, but there were also unhappy ones. Zhang Hongqing was dissatisfied. Even if he divided into 100 beasts, he was still upset. Because after a series of incidents last night, the disciples at Tiandamen also admired Li Hezi and opposed him as the leader of the team. This is also normal. Following Li Hezi is both safe and spiritual. And you Zhang Hongqing almost killed everyone, I still follow you. Do you think you died fast enough? Huh. It's all those who have milk and are mothers. There are people like you in the sky door, Zhang Hongqing snorted angrily, and hated Yekong even more. The sky was bright, and everyone who had finished their work also gathered. Check the number of people. 8 monks died last night, and there were 89. Those monks in the same door packed the bodies of the brothers into storage bags and waited to return to Kangnan before burial. However, with Yekong's suggestion, everyone observed a moment of silence in the south. In fact, there was no such custom in Kangnan before, but it has slowly spread since then, and it has become a common practice on this continent to mourn for the dead teammates. At the moment when everyone embarked on the journey again, suddenly something different happened. The sun has just come out, and one side of the sky is already bright, while the other side is still a little dark. In such a sky, a huge gap was suddenly cracked. From the gap, thousands of golden lights were leaked, covering a large area of land below. Even Yekong and others were shrouded in it. The crowd was panicked, and the sky opened a big gap, which is beyond their imagination. If there is any major disaster, they are probably ruining the world. Yekong and Wang Tingshi glanced at each other, and they all guessed that this must be the immortal world, and the 8th achievement was that the Oriental Emperor's palace came to take away the unicorn cloud Hooflin. Everyone don't panic, it may be the fairy immortal, don't talk, don't take weapons, Yekong quickly whispered. What is the power of the immortals, and what effect does the weapon of the immortals have on them? Might as well show friendship without weapons. Everyone heard the immortal lower bound, and they were afraid and excited again. After so many years of living, I haven't seen any immortals, but the immortals shouldn't kill people indiscriminately, right? Otherwise, you cannot escape. Sure enough, from that golden light, 8 teams of 16 tall immortal soldiers wearing gold armor suddenly flew out. As soon as they appeared, they stood on both sides of the station, leaving a passageway in the middle. It seemed that the big players were behind. Subsequently, a golden tassel drove around Jingguangcancan, and Yekong was surprised that the one who drove the car turned out to be 7 unicorns. If the one raised by Yamamoto was caught immediately, it would just make up 8 horses. 8 unicorn cloud-hoofed beasts pulling carts. Yekong's eyes were all green. Who was he in the car? Too exaggerated, too luxurious. As long as there is one, Lao Tzu laughed and crooked his mouth. When he went back, he would definitely offer it as an ancestor, and you actually let the top beast pull the cart. Yekong was a little skeptical. Could it be that the Eastern Emperor Xian himself appeared? However, the curtains around the car were lowered, and no one was visible inside. The driver knew very well that he was an imposing male fairy. He chose the whip with one hand and the other with a golden 3-pointed gun on his side. When he glanced, he found a group of monks below. He frowned and muttered, "Why are there so many human monks here? It seems that I need to report back to the emperor." For these monks, he didn't get instructions from above and didn't dare to make arbitrary decisions. A clear woman voice came from the back of the carriage and asked, "General Gu, let me go down and catch the beast this time. Every time you catch it, it is really boring. Besides, Taxu has been playing with me since childhood. There should be no danger." The immortal with the surname Gu will jump out of the car and hold his fist respectfully, "Princess, it is up to the next generation to wait for the last trivial matter, otherwise it will be passed back, and the emperor will blame me for ineffective work. Besides, there are a number of mortal monks, the princess really shouldn't show her face, it would offend mortals." The princess inside was instantly annoyed, "The mortal is not a bad person. When I am in the nether, forget it, hurry back to Taxu and go back." The immortal breathed a sigh of relief and hugged his fist, "I wish you honor." Xian will put down the 3-pointed gun in her hand, take out a special gold rune paper, shake her hand, the gold rune paper immediately turned into a ball of fire. Fairy shook his hand, as if burned to his hands, and frowned sharply. Yamamoto is dead? How is that possible? When Yamamoto Jianren was found dead, Xianxia was shocked and said, "Everyone should guard carefully." Yes, the celestial soldiers scattered quickly, surrounded by the car, arms raised in their hands, posing a pair of vigilance. Then I saw that Xianxia would find a way, took a trick, and then patted his chest. I saw a phantom flying out of his body immediately, and the phantom ray shot towards the valley where Yamamoto was. Yekong and Wang Tingshi glanced at each other below, both of them uneasy, wondering if the fairy could find out. The speed of the immortal was so fast that he would telegraph back after a while, and hidden in the body of the immortal, and he also knew the current situation in this valley. The immortal thought for a moment, and then he reported to the golden car, "Princess, the 18-grade immortal who was grazing in the horses here, killed Yamamoto Kenren, and the spirit was destroyed. In the place where he died, I feel the breath left by Jupin Xianqi." Ah, the princess also made a surprise, and asked quickly, "What about snow?" Xianbing said, "It's safe to step on the snow, and you can subside after a while, but the subordinate wants to investigate the killing of Yamamoto Kenren first. Then you hurry up." With the princess orders, the immortal will fly to Yekong and others and ask in the air, "Here, the people from the lower world, listen, I am the Sanpin immortal from the Eastern Emperor's palace in the upper world. I will ask you, etc. answer, otherwise don't blame me for being ruthless." Lin Tianwu immediately knelt down, hoeing his head, "I will ask the immortal, I must know everything when I wait. Many people kneeled, but Yekong and others did not kneel. The heart said that this fairy would also look very young. Why should he kneel? Xianzhang Guiyuang felt a little unhappy, but he was not angry, and asked, "How did you come to Kangbei?" Lin Tianwu immediately replied, "Xianxian, I was a disciple of the 10 cultivation sects in Kangnan, and I came here by accident. At that time, I was waiting to fight with people, and I didn't know what strange magic the other party was using. I came here as soon as I did. Speaking of immortals, I didn't know if it was Kangbei here. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 600. 61 cents will investigate. Yekong Kong was funny. The old man Lin Tianwu was a bit interesting, but on the surface was very respectful, but there was no truth in his mouth. The lie he compiled was the same as he lied to Yamamoto. After listening to Lin Tianwu's words, Gu Yuanyang naturally did not believe it. However, he immediately released his consciousness. He was already waiting for Luo Tianxian. He searched the absolute barrier carefully, and found nothing unusual, except that there was a lower matrix method not far away and nothing else. This shows the ingenuity of falling into the sky. If ancient Yuanyang found the portal, what would happen? Without a portal, there is only one empty array method, and no one will doubt anything. Gu Yuanyang didn't find a gap in the absolute barrier, so he nodded his letter. He asked again, "Has Nair seen or heard any abnormal movements, such as the sound of fighting?" Lin Tianwu hurriedly said, "I waited here 4 days ago and didn't see it. To talk about it, it was last night, Xianxian. You didn't know that last night it was a landslide, a sudden change in the world, thousands of monsters, overwhelming, I'm so scared." Gu Yuanyang heard a frown, and waved his hand to interrupt, "Forget it, since you don't know anything, stop talking nonsense." Then he got up and flew away, and the monks were relieved. But then they became nervous again. I saw the ancient Yuanyang standing in the sky, with countless seals in both hands. That seals turned out to be a reality, forming a lavender rhombus crystal. Then he took out another compass, and when the compass collided with the crystal swelled in all directions and spread, and in a blink of an eye, it disappeared into the distant sky. Swept by the light of that crystal, Yekong and others hurriedly examined the body and found no discomfort. But Gu Yuanyang snorted and looked over his eyes again. Tiandaman Zhang Hongqing was surprised that the fairy looked at herself. "No good, what does this fairy look at me? His eyes are so bad." What scared him even more was that the Sanpanexian would stare at him and flew over. "People in the lower world, can you recognize the 18th Pinxian, the middle Jinxianshan Benjianren?" Zhang Hongqing jumped in his heart, thinking of the golden sign he picked up that day. He even had a crying heart. "Damn, Yamamoto Jianren, you are really Jianren, just die if you die, why throw the sign in front of me?" But he didn't dare admit anything, and quickly knelt down and said, "Xianxian, I have never heard of this name. My ancestor did not know a fairy in the 18th generation." "Really?" Gu Yuanyang snorted coldly, "you will taste the consequences of deceiving a Sanpanexian to wait for Luo Tianxian." He finished, and the compass rose in his hand. A Jinkankan rectangular brand flew out of Zhang Hongqing's storage bag, and that Jinkankan's light made Zhang Hongqing's face inhuman. "Xianxian, this is what I picked up. Listen to me explain. I really don't know anything. That ancient Yuanyang, as Luo Tianxian, is also a third-grade fairy general, and can be regarded as the number 1 figure in the immortal world. Where can I endure the deception of a monk in the lower world? The soul is out of position." As soon as Gu Yuanyang grabbed his hand out of thin air, he saw Zhang Hongqing's soul come out of his body, and his body fell over with a bang. "Shangxian Raoming. I really don't know anything. Zhang Hongqing's soul wanted to escape. But as soon as the 5 fingers of the ancient Yueyang were closed, Zhang Hongqing's soul was carried in his hands, and he could not help but say that he would throw it into a wallet-sized square box around his waist. Yekong heard it, but he couldn't bear it. I had known that Zhang Hongqing had been killed with a sword, and that's it. I went to the fairyland and suffered 10,000 years of torture. However, before he could sympathize with others, he listened to Gu Yueyang and said, "People in the nether, you must deceive the immortal and accompany this person, and die." The crowd was frightened, and they did not expect that the fairy was so indiscriminate, that they would inexplicably kill everyone. But what else can I do? You can't fight, you can't escape, you can't escape. With the wave of the fairy's hand, your soul is caught. Is this mother still alive? Yahalo is in a horizontal position. Your ancestor, want me to die? I'll let you die first. Although I can only shoot 2 arrows, I will also pull 2 backs. But at this moment, a clear voice came from the car in the sky, "Ancient Yueyang. Have you forgotten my father's teachings?" Gu Yueyang's hand suddenly stopped in mid-air and hummed to the crowd, "This matter will definitely be checked, and if it has something to do with you, take your life." Damn, would NTU be born and cultivated earlier than Lao Tzu? What arrogance! Someone will come to you after I'm sorry. Yekong didn't dare to say it, but Gu Yueyang noticed his eyes, and now he sneered, "The ants also want to be angry? It's ridiculous. The ants must have the consciousness of being an ant." Although Yekong didn't dare to pretend to be such an overbearing immortal, but it didn't mean he didn't dare to speak. He stepped forward and replied, "Don't bully the young poor. Go to the fairy, haven't you been an ant? Besides, a Luo Tianxian fairy bullies a group of ants, do you have a great sense of accomplishment?" Gu Yueyang was ridiculed by a person from the nether in front of many immortal soldiers, and his face couldn't stop immediately, and he said angrily, "You are looking for death. For the ant who can bite, I must kill it before it grows up." But at this moment, the curtain of the golden car suddenly curled up a corner, and a golden light flew straight, smashed on the ancient Yueyang helmet, issued a crisp pong sound, and again, it turned out to be a golden one. Bullseye small cup. Gu Yueyang knew that the princess was angry, and glanced back at Yekong, saying, "The 3rd Imperial Palace in the Eastern Fairy Emperor Palace, wait for Luo Tianxian Ancient Yueyang, and I am waiting for you." Hearing again, the curtain was lifted again, and a golden flagon was thrown out again. He didn't dare to say more. Although the princess was more rude, he never had such a big fire with him and didn't know why. When he went back, he heard the hum in his car and said, "This is the end of the matter, don't investigate it anymore. Otherwise I will never ignore you." Such threats from ordinary girls are still very useful. Gu Yueyang was panicked and busy, subordinates promise not to pursue them. "Okay, we've closed the snow, let's go back." Gu Yueyang then came to the car, took out a leather whip, and drew it sharply, making a crunchy noise. Soon, the unicorn cloud hoof came out of the air, its injuries were all healed, and with the help of the high-level spirit beast Dan, it turned into an adult in just a few days. The adult unicorn cloud hooflin is even more impressive. It is a golden armor, golden light, a colorful unicorn like a rainbow in daylight, and the white fur on the 4 hoofs is swinging in the running. It is well deserved. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 601. See you sooner or later. The posture of stepping on the snow is too graceful, and the people below are stunned. The nuns are even drooling. If anyone can ride on this thing to propose to themselves, even if it is a toad, they will marry themselves. Yekong looked at Lianrulan, and sighed in his heart. He originally wanted to ride this thing to Linjiao Mountain, but now he looks hopeless. The unicorn Yun Holan came to stand in front of Gu Yueyang, and looked very afraid of the whip in his hand. Then Gu Yuiang took out a white halter and put it on the unicorn Yun Holan's head. The 8 horses are all ready. Xiaobai. Wang Tingshi had tears in her eyes at this moment, and spent more than a month with Xiaobai, getting along day and night. At this moment, parting, I was afraid that there would be no more days of tears. What worries her most is that those fairy people even let Xiaobai go to the trailer. When she was with her, she was reluctant to ride it once, but now she was allowed to go to the trailer. Maybe she was hit by a whip. And the unicorn Yunhelan seemed to hear Wang Tingshi's call, and even looked at her with nostalgia, her eyes reluctantly. Gone, Gu Yuiang jumped into the car, waved his leather whip, glanced back at Yekong fiercely, and led everyone into the golden crack. Rest assured, meet sooner or later. Yekong made a grimace to the back of Gu Yuiang and others with a little finger. But at this moment, a cry came from his ears, and Yekong looked back, only to see Wang Tingshi cry at this moment, crying more and more. The crowd was inexplicable, especially the disciple of the dead Yinzong, who couldn't figure out why the young lady suddenly cried and was so sad. Could it have escaped from the hands of the fairy and wept with joy? Miss, don't get excited, they are really gone. Wang Tingshi sobbed, don't go, don't go. Everyone fainted and looked at each other. Keep them from leaving? Isn't it, miss, are you still awake and still can't figure out the situation? Only Yekong knew what she was crying, and walked over to comfort him softly. Relax, there will always be time to meet. When we rise to the upper bounds, I promise you, I will help you steal Xiaobai back. Wang Tingshi heard in excitement, and appearing, hugged someone's neck, and didn't know whether it was crying or laughing. Yekong's expression was also very wonderful at this moment, and she didn't know whether she was crying or laughing. She said, Miss Wang, next time you make such a big move, please go to a place where no one is. Okay, you do this in public embarrassed. He had to open his arms and looked at the crowd innocently, explaining, we are good friends. It's okay not to explain. Once explained, everyone who was stunned laughed. Lin Tianwu sighed with a beard and sighed, it's so good to be young, good friends can hug me too, but I'm old. The leader of Yongxia zone over there is an old woman. She laughed, what are you afraid of when you are old? You can have good friends when you are old, or do we also be good friends? Lin Tianwu saw that old face was about to vomit blood, and hurriedly said, avoid it, let me die for a few more years. Yekong was ridiculed by everyone. For the first time, his face turned red, and he turned to see Lianrulan. I saw Lianrulan cover her mouth with a smile and walked away. It seems that she is very relieved. I went to see Huang Zixuan again. Sister Cucumber was still angry. You Deadpool, haven't you told me your identity yet, and you still use me as an outsider? Look at me now and want me to help? Dream. However, Huang Zixuan thought again, no, let Wang Tingshi continue to hug her, but it was her own disadvantage. She hurried over to comfort Wang Tingshi with her words, while tearing her arm off Yekong's neck. Wang Tingshi stopped crying. Her first sentence turned out to be, Sister Xian, don't worry, he and I are really good friends. Huang Zixuan blushed this time, and murmured, of course I'm relieved, it's none of my business. He and I are also good friends. As soon as the immortal left, everyone continued to explore northward. Zhang Hongqing hung up. No one seemed to mention it. It seemed that even Tiandaman himself did not like him, and he also recommended Tianhao as the team leader. Although Tianhao talked with Zhang Hongqing that day, he had no idea about Lianrulan, and this man was also smoother and apparently polite to Yekong. In this case, Yekong didn't bother him. How people treat me, how I treat people, you are polite, I am also polite, you want to play with the means behind me, I have more means than you. This area of thousands of miles is the site of the male and female beasts. Now that the beast master dies, his beast soldiers are almost dead. The range of this mile is Yekong's world. Everyone uses their own means to find the treasures of heaven. Every time I heard someone exclaim, "Ah! This is a 9-leaf lotus, I have been searching for a long time. Haha, a multi-tailed beast. I had wanted to get one, but the 9-tailed one sold 7,000 spirit stones, but this is 15-tailed, my god." Every day Yekong's ears are filled with such joy and cheer, and more, because each one finds items and adjusts each other. You have a piece of spirit grass, I have a piece of spirit wood, exchanged with each other, the shortcomings, everyone is accustomed to supplement the difference with the animal monsters of all levels. In fact, Yekong, who has been walking behind the team, has some losses, but he did not rush to the front to grab things from everyone. It can't be said that it is his high spirits, the key is that those things are not useful to him. If it was to earn a spiritual stone, he would have made a lot the beast of the Hong Huang ancient beast and the body of the male and female beasts, which are all valuable things. One of them is worth the other. With all the people together, is he still necessary to grab those little things? Of course, he also has something urgently needed. First of all, what is needed most is to absorb the metallic method. With this method, he can continue to cultivate and maintain the balance of spiritual cyclone in his body. However, this thing is not something you can just pick up on the road. He looks forward to discovering it in the ruins of the ancient sects. Secondly, what he needs is the method of controlling fire. With this method, he can refine the magic weapon before himself. In the end, what he needed was the materials of the 5 flying swords in the 5 elements sword formation. He remembered those materials well. The shape and nature of each material. But he was not in a hurry, although Kangbei is a treasure everywhere, but even those materials in Kangbei should be scarce. If other people find it, Yekong believes that he should be able to trade things for himself. So Yekong always followed the team and listened to him. "Hey, you said, are there any real friends between men and women? I wonder when Cao Junfan led his treasure hunter to Yekong." To the reader. Yesterday I watched after midnight, it was 944. Today's minutes are subtracted from the monthly points, which is 928. In short, it is almost 1,000 points. Brothers, help me a lot. Some brothers say that Xiaoman is not kind, so it's not a few dozen points? So care? However, Xiaoman also has distress. The day after tomorrow is Monday, and there will be an outbreak. Recently, the festival has been concentrated, and it has been more and more outbreak. Of course, don't be disappointed, everyone will reach 1,000 today, and Xiaoman will definitely add more tomorrow. Anyway, Xiaoman said something, that is, nails nailed to the iron plate, he would never break his word.